words of welcome? Okay, well, welcome everyone. Thank you for coming. I'll stand up. That's easier.
Get in the frame.
My name is Abby Karos, and I'm one of the co-directors of Compass. We did bring, so this is Ash and Emma. They will introduce themselves more fully in a moment. And we did bring some materials. We brought the references page, which you'll see on the last slide. We brought a newsletter, which is also on our website, if you prefer the electronic format. And then we have a book that is also one of the books we reference, that this has been an inspiration for the model that we're based after, which is called North Star. And it's based in Massachusetts. So, and then there's also a 7 principles document, which you may be interested in if you're interested in just taking a look at some of the philosophy that guides us. So I don't want to take up any more time. I will just reference 2 of our core principles. The first being that young people do want to learn. And I'm referencing these 2 because these are the ones that will come up in their talk. And the second one, which is actually the last one, this is actually the first and last of our 7 principles, is that the best preparation for a meaningful and productive future is a meaningful and productive present. Okay, so I'll let them take over here.
Okay, so I guess we'll just introduce ourselves and tell you a bit about our school experience. Okay, so
I think it was
first.
Yeah. Hello, my name is Ashley, and the director. And I'm here to talk about a story. I can't remember what I called it though.
Action Adventures.
There you go. Thank you. Okay. When I was younger, we lived in Bethany, Ashton. I lived in the States because my father got a job there. And I was going to school because I had a normal life. I didn't know about that at the time. And so I went to school, and I was bullied, as a lot of kids are, because A, I ate different, because my mother is she really likes healthy food, which often doesn't look very appetizing to people who don't obsess over it. So I often went in with things that didn't look normal. And I was taller than everyone, and for some reason, that was a problem. So I was bullied for that, and I was bullied because I was taller than them, which sucked. But I was younger at the time, and so it didn't bother me, because I was like, I have friends. But in kindergarten, it was really fun because it was all fun and games. And then I got to first grade, and apparently I am very intelligent, according to everyone else. So I went to a gifted school. I was in first grade, I didn't know what that meant. So I went to the gifted school, and it was a school for gifted children. So naturally, they had high expectations, which meant in first grade, I was coming home with 9 pages of homework in first grade. So I would cry when I got home, I would get stressed, and I wouldn't want to wake up in the morning, and sometimes I would wake up, and I would not want to go so badly that I would pretend to be asleep. And that didn't always work. So that sucked, because one of the things they made me do is they would make me like a project or a book or something I would read out loud in front of the entire class. And despite being a natural extrovert, sorry guys, I was being forced to read things I had no interest in front of a class. So it might come up 2 times, but I developed a speaking tic, where I would cough, I would clear my throat, and a bunch of different little things that I got in first grade that actually still affect me now. I'm almost 16, I'll be 16 next month, which kind of sucks. So that sucks. Another thing was I was forced to learn things I had absolutely no interest in, also when I left first grade, including math. I'm actually naturally very good at math. I can figure out problems very quickly, and I can learn new different ways to do math pretty quickly. Sadly, because I was being forced to learn math, and they were saying this is what you're going to learn, and it was all numbers, and I had no interest in it. I prefer more artsy, hands-on things. I developed a sheer, undying hatred for math, which sucks because it's very useful in a lot of situations, like if you want to do something that involves a lot of math, obviously, like a mathematician, or a scientist or something, which is something I wanted to do as a child. It involves, if I wanted to, obviously I just learned that when I got older, I wanted to go for that, but I didn't want to do it. So that kind of sucked because years later, I refused to go to a math class because I'm like, I really don't want to. However, later on in life, when I got bored sometimes and I was home, and I was doing nothing. I did math for fun because I was good at it, and it gave my brain something to do. But it was the school forcing me to do it, which made me resent it. Sad though, because it can be fun, and I wanted it. After a while, I was going to be moving to Canada because my entire family is here. I was in the States earlier. And I was going to be leaving in the middle of the school year. And my mom had already known about homeschooling, which is basically where you go home and you do all the things there with your mother. And she wanted to homeschool me, but she was really worried that she wouldn't be able to give me all the things that I needed. However, by that point in time, I'd gone to the first day in 4th grade. I hated school to the point where it's like, yeah, homeschooling, not getting up in the morning. So that was exciting, and I was cool with it. And then I did exactly the same thing at home as I did at school, just with my mother. I had workshops, or not workshops, workbooks. I had pages, I was doing research online, which I found a little nicer because I could stay at home and stay in my PJs. But I was still learning things I had absolutely no interest in, so I learned to resent getting up even continuing, which sucked because it was my mother and I enjoyed hanging out with her. I was learning things I had no interest in. So eventually, I don't remember when, my mom somehow found magically on the internet, the magical internet, about unschooling, which is basically where you don't have workbooks, you don't have a bunch of things, you learn what interests you at whatever time of the day you feel like. I could get up at noon and go to bed at 2 in the morning, which I don't do generally because I get up now in the morning. And I could learn about animals all day if I wanted to, which I generally did. And so I knew random facts that I've now forgotten. Because I don't read that much anymore about animals, other interests. So that was really enjoyable for me because I could do what I wanted when I wanted. I could learn about space one day, and animals the next, and why plants grow and how they grow the next day, which was very enjoyable, but I'm a very extrovert person. And I need peoples. I need my peoples. And I didn't, so that was a good factor about it, but I needed social. I needed to find people. I wanted to go on adventures with them. I wanted friends, naturally. So it worked out in some ways, but not in others. And then a dear friend of mine was talking to me by text, and she's like, I have found this place, and it's called Compass. And it's like kind of unschooling with other people. And at first, I heard the word school, and I was like, no! And then she kept pestering me about it, which is actually unusual for her. And I was finally like, okay, I'll try it. I'll go one day to see what this is all about. So I went one day, and I was very nervous, and I kind of had a mini panic attack. Because there was a bunch of people I didn't know, and I hadn't been in that kind of environment, because I kind of closed away from the world, because I was so anti-school, and I was like, nope. And so I went there, and I saw a bunch of people that I was friends with. It was really fun, but really nerve-wracking. So I went multiple times, and eventually I was like, this is really cool. First off, I'm not bullied, because I'm taller and I eat different. People accept me here. I'm accepted no matter who I am here. Second off, I can still learn exactly what I want, and if they don't have a class going that I really want to know, like, how you get to the moon by yourself with a paper airplane. If that was a subject, I could ask, and they would try and find someone to teach me about it, and then I could learn about it, which is great. Another thing that was obviously really important was that there was a bunch of people, and one of the great things is when you go to a class, you specifically want, you desire to learn this thing. So you go to the class, and other people in the class have the same desire as you, which means it's a lot easier to find friends, because every class you go to, if you find someone who goes to similar classes as you, they have similar interests as you. And that was that. And that was my speech.
Hi, I'm Emma. I'm not a huge fan of talking in front of people, so I'll try not to ramble, I guess. So, I always went to school. I went to school up until this Christmas, and I really enjoyed it in elementary school. I had friends, I had good marks, and I had a really good memory, so it was easy for me. But when I got to high school, I realized that I wasn't really learning the way I wanted to be learning, because I was just holding information long enough to spit it back out in a test, and then I was just forgetting it and it was gone. And that was frustrating, because I have a goal. I want to be a large animal vet. And so I wanted to be learning things that went along with my goal, and maths and sciences and history and things I wasn't interested, I wasn't engaged, and it was hard, and that led to stress and anxiety, and I had no time for anything else because I was spending so much time worrying about the work that I was doing in school, and it was really hard, and I was bored in school. So it became a struggle to get me there. I was crying in the morning and I wouldn't get on the bus, and my mom would have to drive me in, and then I wouldn't go into the building. It was really, really hard. And eventually we kind of just gave up because I wasn't sleeping or eating anymore, and it was too much for me. And now that I'm at Compass, I'm excited to get up in the morning. I'm learning the things that I want to be learning, and I'm learning things that interest me and that go along with me becoming a vet, which is amazing. And I have really good friends. I'm accepted. There's no pressure to be a certain way. Everybody's just who they are. I guess I kind of learned how to learn in a way. I'm not memorizing anything anymore. It's just I'm experiencing them. And I think the biggest difference is that I'm happy now that I wasn't before. So that's my story.
I actually have a little bit of a note on this one. Before 1902, there was no school system as we know now. Everyone was either homeschooled, or they were very rich, higher up families, and they were going to private schools to help them learn how to be a higher, rich person and actually manage money and such, and manage businesses. And then 1902, a guy whose name I can't remember, I apologize, decided to create something. He wanted to create a thing where you could teach workers how to be a worker. So he created the school system we currently use, and what people would do is they would go there and they would learn how to be a good worker. They would learn how to listen to what you want them to listen to and then do it. They would learn how to
Obey orders.
exactly, I guess, and then memorize things long enough to do them again, even if they don't do it ever again. And there's a lot of people who were actually quite brilliant, who are quite brilliant. Some of them are castaways, I think. And they were like, this is not how you learn to be a genius. You don't learn to be a genius. This is creating workers, which is good for what it does. And I admit, going to there to learn how to be a worker who knows how to work machinery, that's cool. But everyone else who is not going to grow up to be someone who needs to follow orders, who needs to memorize things long enough to spit them back out, who needs to do this and that, doesn't need it. And sadly, despite the fact that this doesn't always help everyone, because it's this is how it is, and there's not really a way for people who don't learn like that anyways, it hasn't really done much to change since 1902, which is sad.
So I guess what we're saying is that we're trying to teach everybody the same way instead of teaching them the way that they need to learn. So here, a fish can't climb a tree, but we're trying to evaluate the fish by asking it to climb a tree, which is sort of the way I felt, because I didn't learn the way that everybody else was learning, but I was still being asked to learn that way, and it doesn't work. So what we need as teenagers is we need our time back. We have no time to do anything when we're in school. We spend 2 hours a night at least doing homework, and then we go to bed and get up and spend 6-7 hours at school. We don't have a chance to explore anything or learn anything else. We also need to learn to take responsibility for ourselves gradually and not just automatically when we turn 18, because we can't really be expected to be mature when we're considered an adult at 18 if we haven't been given the chance to grow up as a child. We also need to enjoy being young, because we don't have that for too long. We only have it for a few years, and then we're building up responsibilities, getting jobs. So I'm 14, and at Compass, I have all kinds of things that I'm doing right now that I'm learning, and I'm taking advantage of that. And if I were in school, I wouldn't have a chance to enjoy just being free, I guess.
That's what it is to enjoy, explore our passions and know what they are. One of the things that's in a normal school system is these are the things you're going to learn, these are the things you will not be learning. They don't really say this probably, but these are the things you learn, you have to learn them, and if you don't learn a certain amount, you won't pass. Whereas a lot of things that you could have a severe passion and that you want to live for the rest of your life being this. You want this to be your job and you want to grow up and tell your children, I do this and this is why I'm cool. A lot of those things you wouldn't learn in school. You don't learn how to be like a hiker in school. You don't learn how to like, unless you go to a specific school when you're older, a veterinary school, you don't know how to be a vet. You don't learn in first grade like anatomy of like a cat that you can then go home and test on your cat. So you can't learn those things, so it's a lot harder to learn what your passions are because you don't have the ability to explore them. Whereas in places like Compass, there's a large variety of different things, and you can request classes that you have a specific desire for. Like maybe you can't like go and climb Mount Fuji without a little bit of help, which you would need, and you can't do that in school. Next thing is for you not to underestimate us. In the way our school system is, everyone is crammed into this little area and they are taught the exact same thing. Also, you are with kids your same age in the class, so you know about the same amount that they do. Whereas if you are with a lot of other people, you learn a lot of different things and you learn how to live life a little more, which means you have more knowledge. And normally people underestimate teens because of anxiety and depression. Often they don't make the best choices. And because of being told what to do all the time, they're not always happy. But if you have the ability to make your own choices, and you have the ability to mess up, then you can learn from that, and then people shouldn't have to underestimate you. The last one that all we need is trust.
We need you to believe that we can take our future into our own hands and follow our dreams. So what we need to be successful is we need to be allowed to mess up. We need to be allowed to learn from our mistakes and figure out what works for us and what doesn't. And we need to, again, learn from that and become better from that.
Which goes in with to be a decent human being. You need to experience life in order to learn what is good for obviously being a good human being, what is not. And if you're with people all your age and you're always doing the same thing every day, it's going to be a lot harder because people you're with don't know any more than you do. And you need to learn from experience and being out there in the world to learn what is socially acceptable to say and what is not.
And we need to experience rather than know. I had a great analogy, actually. Because I ride, I have a horse, so if you tell me over and over and over and over how to prepare myself for a jump, you can tell me that I need to put my leg on, look at the turn before I go, turn, shoulders back, legs on, jump, hands forward, lean back, shoulders back, go to the turn, get the lead, keep going, next jump. It doesn't matter how many times you explain it to me. It doesn't matter if I can recite that over and over and over in my head. When I get to a competition, if I've never done it, there's no way I'm going to be able to get to that jump because I've never done it. But if I've practiced it and I've done it before, then it's going to come to me. I'll be able to do it. And otherwise, it's just a list in my head that doesn't really mean anything.
Next is to enjoy learning. As I made the statement before, when I went to school, I learned to absolutely love with math and to have any opportunity where I didn't have to do it, take it. Which is horrible, because it can be really enjoyable. But if you're being forced all the time to learn things that you don't have the interest in, and you're being told you have to learn a certain amount, and you have to memorize it by this point in time, and if you don't, you're going to fail school, fail your life, and you'll never get a good job. I'm not going to enjoy learning. I'm going to learn to hate learning, and I won't want to do it when I'm older. And I'll be like, I don't want to learn anything new. Learning sucks. Whereas if you are given the chance to know what you want, and when you want, in the way that you want, in the way that actually works for you personally in learning, you remember, if you ever had that chance as a child, where you learn how to really enjoy learning, and how it can be very fascinating and fun to learn new things and how to do new things. Whereas if you're just forced to do things over and over and over again, you're not going to really do it.
Yeah, we're sort of taught in a way at school that learning is dull. It's repetitive and it's boring. It's just facts and facts and facts and facts that honestly don't mean anything to us. And it's just it's empty, kind of. It doesn't. It's use. I'm trying to find the right words. It's. I don't know. It's not interesting the way that it's taught. It's read from a book, and there's questions, and it's over over and over and over and over, same way, same thing every day, which is not enjoyable, especially for somebody that needs to move and that needs to experience things in order to get that information.
A lot of times people, when they get older and they have a job and they actually have a very good income per se, and they don't remember a lot of the things that they learned. And they're like, I don't remember any of this class. I don't even remember what the teacher looked like. I don't even remember the subject. I barely remember any of this. It's no use to me logically for what I want to do in life.
I'm
That's
in,
another thing.
I'm in grade 8 and my mom can't do my math. She has no idea what I'm talking about. Like it doesn't, she learned it all, but she can't do it.
She memorized it.
I guess so, and then she doesn't use it. It's gone. She doesn't know it. So it's really, the way it's being taught is we're not learning, we're just remembering, storing it back in our brains, and then using it on tests, and then it's gone. I don't remember anything I learned in science last year, but I remember for the exam, I memorized, she gave us a list of the questions and we had to highlight different things, and I swear, I memorized word for word, every single answer. I put it on the test, I got a good mark, that was it, I don't remember anything. It's gone.
Done.
Yeah, it's done. So, especially for success, what we need to be happy. That's what success is to me, it's to be happy. If I want to be a vet, but I want to be a large animal vet because my passion is horses and it's cows and farms and being outside. I know that there's more money in small animals, but it doesn't matter because that's not what I want to do. That's not what I want to do. I want to be working with horses and bulls and exciting animals. and that's I need to be happy because that's what matters to me. And if I'm just going on making money day after day, but I'm just I'm not interested, it's not exciting, it's just boring, I'm not going to be happy no matter how much money I have. It doesn't matter because I'm just stuck, I guess, in just what I'm doing.
I can relate to that because my goal in life, the one dream I've had since I was a little baby, holding a crayon, drawing me, adventuring. That's all I want to do. I don't really care about how much money I have. I don't care about all these other things. I don't really care about what happened in a lot of wars that happened years ago that we've all learned from, at least the people who actually live with wars. It doesn't interest me. Not to mention, I have no attention span for things I'm not interested in. I generally have a very low attention span for everything else, and I'm hyperactive. So I'm sitting there. I would be sitting there for hours in school, forgetting things within a few minutes of being told it because I wasn't interested. And so even if I tried my hardest, I could not remember it because my attention span went off. And so I need to do things. I learn best hands-on. I learn best physically doing something, which is maybe one of the reasons I want to go adventuring so much because it's an active thing and I'm going to go be doing that. But a lot of things in school, I wasn't learning that would ever help me towards that, ever. Which is why I couldn't be happy. I hated it and I couldn't be happy. It wasn't helping me with what I wanted to do in life. Whereas if I actually learn things that will help me towards the goal of adventuring and being a better artist in a lot of different varieties, and then be happy because I'm learning what is important to me. That is that. Okay, need to go to the station.
I think so, but I realized we were so up down. Yeah.
Oh no.
So gone kind of fast.
No, it's okay. I will have questions.
Ask you a bunch of questions.
Yeah.
All of the questions.
So one thing that we kind of like to leave you with is how do you define success?
What is success to you?
That's kind of all. I'm sure there's more, but that's what we said in half an hour.
Okay, well, why don't we get a chair for the two of you so you can
Okay.
I'll grab one.
kind of be a little bit off the spotlight, and I'm going to put it just on our references page, which we also have printed out. So you're welcome to grab one of those on your way out the door. So I guess maybe I think it's perfect because I wanted to make sure we had a lot of time for questions. So some of the questions, I mean, a lot of them, I imagine you might have addressed to the two of them if you have any for me. For those of you who came in later, my name is Abby Karos, and I'm one of the co-directors at Compass. Some of them might be more appropriate addressed to me, so we'll just take your questions if you have any.
Yes.
I'm curious about what kind
kind of classes you take? Or is it structured like you go to class, or how does that work? What do you do every day? It sounds awesome. I just want to know what it is.
Sure. Well, I'm taking really what it is. We're offered a bunch of classes, and if we are interested, we go, and if we're not, we can find something else to do. So I'm learning piano right now, and there's a cooking class that I go to. I'm going to a brain science and a cognitive science class, which is really interesting. We dissected a brain yesterday. It was wonderful. It was so cool. And I know, it was so fun. But we're really just offered a big variety of things that we can do, and
So you do decide every day or every week? Or?
Normally, you make a commitment because there's you go there's Monday to Thursday. You don't have to go every day. You can just go one day, or you can go all four. And then there's a class every single there's a schedule, and the classes go on at that point in time. If you're feeling sick or something, you don't go to it. If they're doing something like the second issue brain and you are not cool with being around that, then you don't go to it. There is a schedule to that sense though, and the classes obviously can't just go on forever because we have a schedule. However, it is a lot more flexible. Also, another thing is if there's not a class going on and you really were fascinated with how eyes worked and you wanted to know every little detail about how eyes worked, and there was not a class about how eyes worked, you could go and request it. You're like, I'm really interested in this. This is a passion of mine. I want to know how eyes work and why they have their color, and why babies are often born with blue eyes, but then they change. I want to know this and that and this and that, and then you could go and request it, and they would try their best to find either someone who does a class on that, or if only you are really interested in that, a tutor for that.
we really just go off and explore what we're interested in and see if we can find new passions, and then we build on that.
And after they're kind of just randomly.
Yeah, sword fighting and things like that. It depends on the person, but there's all kinds of things that we're doing. Yeah.
Can you give us kind of paint a picture of how many are you, there are you, and do the people who come in and teach these classes, who are they, and what do you like about learning from
There's
them?
different amounts of people come different amounts of days. I go Tuesday to Thursday, and I have a friend who goes Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So there's different amounts on different days depending on the class that day. I used to go on Monday, and then the class I was interested in ended, and I was really interested in the classes, so I just kind of switched to Tuesdays.
I think there's
Because of class I liked specific.
20 of us.
There's 25 to 30, and as Ash and Emma said, they come on different days.
Yes, it depends on
I don't know how many
what you're
volunteers
interested
we
in.
currently have. A lot.
Yeah, I don't know, but they're all volunteers
So
in the
cool.
classes. And
We find the volunteers largely through Volunteer Ottawa. And so, with the exception of my co-director and myself, all of the classes are taught by community volunteers. So we might say, there's the teens want to learn about cognitive science, or there's a wish list for a philosophy class, or I mean, name it. You name it. We have a teen being tutored in Japanese. We have fiddle, voice. You can see our class calendar on our website. And so we interview the community volunteers and screen them and do all those appropriate things, get police checks, and then they come in, and it's a very satisfying thing to see an adult who's really knowledgeable and passionate in a given area go off in a room with some teens who really want to learn that exact thing. And so that's how that process happens.
So do you guys receive a diploma at the end, and can you guys apply to post-secondary education?
Well, technically, you don't even really often need something. You can get in and take the test that they require, which is another thing. If they require certain things and you don't know them, you can either A, request a class to learn this, or B, learn it by yourself with books and the internet and other things.
we don't get a diploma, I don't believe.
Okay.
It's not a school.
No,
Okay.
and there's no exams. It's just you come in and you learn. But I want to be vet. I want to get into Guelph
I
University.
believe there's a bridging program for people without diplomas.
Yeah. So I'm following still some of the curriculum to get the math and the science, which I'll be building on next year, and then I'll apply, see what it is that I need to learn, and learn it. Just keep going.
Yeah.
There's a variety of ways that you can get into universities as a homeschooler. It is so that's what legally the teenagers who come to Compass are. They're legally considered homeschoolers, and it is absolutely not a barrier to get into university or college, or to go on and do, pursue what you want to do. We've made sure we've met with people from Algonquin, from Trent, from Ottawa U, from Carleton, so we know what they require, and there are a variety of ways that those requirements can be met.
I know many people who were homeschooled, they went to schools, but they didn't make it to college, university, and other places where they were passionate about.
Yes.
First of all, sorry for coming in late. One of the things that I'm a lifelong learner, I think a lot of consider themselves to be so, and the older I get, the more I realize how little I know. And one of the things that, I'll use an analogy from my high school days, the course that actually was most valuable for me in high school was one that I took as an elective, as typing. That's the course that I actually currently use every single day. You talked about your mom not doing grade 8 math. I fear when my children get to grade 8 because I imagine I'll be in the same boat. How do you address questions around what you don't know? I mean, it's great to be able to learn what you want to know, but there's so many things that are out there that are beyond what you.
Well, if you're talking about like classes that you have a passion for but you don't know about them, other people request classes, and then even if they don't, so I think of the volunteers, like I have this really big class, they can come and they'd be like, I have this class, I can teach it. Anyone who wants to come, you can raise your hand and see if there's a bunch of people who want to do it, if there's one or two, be a tutor. So there are ways to get classes without either A, requesting it, or like B, already going to it. So there are different things that you can learn passions for. That was the question.
A little bit, yeah. Yeah, it's, how do you request what you don't know exists?
Okay, how do we sort of
How do
find?
we answer, yeah.
Yeah.
You don't, other people do,
You
or
hope
they
other
come
people-
in and suggest it, or later on you're like, oh my gosh, this is so cool, I love it.
I don't know exactly. I'm not sure because I'm just really focusing on courses and agriculture and math and science. So I'm not sure.
And
I don't know what exists. I don't really know.
And I focus more on the science classes and artsy classes, and then I do classes here and there, which are just classes. So generally, things that I need for what I desire to grow up to be, I already know.
Right.
And there are just a few other classes sometimes that come up and I'm like, oh, that sounds fun. Let's go check it out.
And if I can respond to your question too, I think it's a question of we're not here to produce people who are well-rounded. Our goal is not to say, Emma needs to know equally about all of these different subjects, because I think that's more the schooling model is, and in terms of exposure, I think they definitely get a lot of that at Compass where they might not know something, that they're interested in something, but yet there's a class that's being offered, they might give it a try. And Emma has discovered that she really enjoys learning piano this year because of a music improv class we have. So it's more about really focusing on what you love to do. And I guess then if you know more about yourself and you know how to get where you want to go, then you can learn things along the way. If you feel that you do want to know a little bit more of a rough sketch of the outline of historical events, in the European, North American context, that's something you can learn after you're 18. We can all continue doing that. So it's really about the skills of acquiring knowledge and the thirst for it that we're more interested in.
Abby, this sounds awesome. I really wish this existed when I was a teenager. It's really amazing. And you guys are wonderful speakers. They've been great. And I'm curious from you, Abby, if you could talk about how Compass started and kind of what your role is as a director, and what's the structure? Are you a nonprofit?
We're a charity. Yeah. So our sole source of funding right now is membership fees that so we we have it's scaled depending on how many days you come. We don't turn away any family because of financial reasons. So we have some families who are paying very little. We have some who are able to pay the full fee. And then we suggest ways that they can bring resources and other members and dollars in other ways. So that's kind of the basic model, which is exactly how it's done at North Star, which I think I mentioned at the outset, and that's the model we're based off of in Hadley, Massachusetts. And so they've been doing this for 18 years, and we're part of a network. It's called Liberated Learners. North Star has been doing this by far the longest, and there's a really excellent TED Talk that I can refer to you to. The School is Optional one by their director, Ken Danford. And then we're the only model of this kind in Canada. Most of them are kind of sprinkled throughout the US. Any other specific questions about how we operate?
Like how you started, or
Yeah.
was it you who started it up, or what was that process?
I initially had gone to, so at North Star they have a few what they call replication workshops. And it's not a franchise. It's not about doing it exactly the way they do it. It's really about having, some core philosophical similarities, and then how to go about setting up a model like this. So I had gone to a few of their summer workshops, and the second one I needed a co-director. I needed someone to, because this is a big project. So we were sitting around, and I said, well, I need a co-director, and Ken, the director, was like, well, I'll set up a dating service for you, like a co-director dating service on Facebook, and I'll screen them. And I said, well, they need to be Canadian. And everyone was just like,
Oh, that's an insurmountable.
and then someone said, what about Andre? And Andre Morrison, he had done an internship at North Star, and was obviously Canadian, just happened to be heading back to Canada, a destination as yet unknown. And so Andre and I met up, and I had some lame budget scrolled on a napkin, and we make a really good team. We have very complementary skills, and so right now it's just the two of us who are core staff, and that's how we started. And it's been a lot of just trial and error and just doing it and figuring things out along the way.
Learn the best from messing up.
See, there you go, learning from our mistakes. Yeah.
I don't learn how to start this at school.
That's right. Yeah, it's been very experiential on our part, we can say.
Did you kind of act as a guide? Sorry.
Oh yeah, well another core part of the program, which I should mention, is that each of the teens has an advisor. So at this point, just Andre and myself are the advisors, and we meet with the teens roughly once every other week. So we sit down with them because it's very focused on their goals and where they want to go, and how we can help them achieve that. And so we sit down, we just talk about how things are going. We talk about if they have any tutorial needs, or and all of their goals don't need to be academically inclined. For some of them, it's maybe working on their communication skills or their social skills, or it can be a variety of things. So I think that's a really core part of the program, because it really is all about those relationships that we form. The classes are great, but they're not the core of it. It's really about getting to know these amazing young people and just helping them get where they want to go. So.
What are the facilities like?
Right now, we're currently operating out of the Bronson Center. We're rapidly outgrowing our space, so we are on the lookout for. We always want to be central, because some of the teens come and go. They might come on the bus and come for part of the day. Something like this setup would be perfect. But I don't think we can afford it. We have a main common room, and then we have a few classrooms. We have one classroom as our permanent space, and a big common room with a few offices attached to it, and then we rent out additional rooms in the Bronson Center as we need. So yeah, if any of you know of any central, affordable, places, I'd love to hear about it.
Schools and finding places that are affordable.
And what's the youngest student? You keep referring to the students as teens, but is it 13 onwards or is it low?
It's actually 12.
12.
Yeah, 12 to 18.
And how can, what can we do to help you or be a part of or support what you're doing?
I mean, we can use committed board members. We're always interested in meeting people who might, even if you feel like you have something interesting to offer that you could teach, you can sit down with us and we can talk about it. It doesn't even need to be over the course of a whole year. It could be a one-off workshop on something. And we can propose it to our membership, which is where we have community meetings once a week. And so, like for instance, yesterday we had a woman who came in who both Audrey and I had met with, and she was talking about offering a class on wisdom. And so she had done her PhD in psychology and spirituality, and will be teaching at St. Paul's, and she just happened to have a bit of time and wanted to offer a few workshops on the idea of happiness and wisdom. So, I mean, it's really, it's amazing what we're able to offer, all on volunteer power. And it helps keep us really flexible because we don't have a core staff, although we hopefully will have more as we grow, but we don't have a huge core staff where we constantly have to offer classes based on what they can teach. It's more about what they want to learn. And that's, it's nice being part of the community. We like to get out in the community as much as possible. So, yeah, in response to your question, I guess board members, volunteering, yeah, those are a few of the main things. Letting us know about space. If you're an amazing grant writer, that'd be great too. Yeah. Sure, helping spread the word. Mm-hmm.
What about physical assets? I mean, aside from the space, but in terms of, do you have whiteboards? Do you have needs for that? All that kind of stuff. Is that what you're looking at?
Yeah.
And I guess it depends on the nature of the classes and the nature of the instruction that's taking place. But can you give us a sense of what are some of the things that you've struggled to get that you've needed?
Certain electronics. Like for instance, we like projectors, that kind of thing. We got a $1,000 grant from an organization called Just Change, and so we're still in the process of using that to improve the classroom design, and the teens have been actively involved in that. We don't really need much in the way of, we don't really use textbooks. There's so much information from the web and textbook, TED Talks and all kinds of things. So we have a wish list on our website.
Okay.
So maybe we'll make sure we update that. Yeah. Yeah, our main needs right now really are finding a new space and finding ways to bring more money into Compass. We give substantial, we really don't turn away any interested family, but it also, that takes a toll on how much money we have, so, yeah.
Because like my family is very, very poor, and my mother works on a personal farm. Well, it's not a farm, it's a place where her boss, he breeds golden retrievers, but she works and she doesn't give up a lot of money, and her boyfriend works somewhere and he's actually been sick a bunch recently, and they're not making a lot of money. So my mom, when she was talking to them, she's like, I can't pay a lot of money. I have very minimal in the way of excess money, but I'm very interested in this, and this will benefit my child a lot. Can we work something out? And they did, but it's kind of a shame because I know I can't, and a bunch of other people cannot pay a lot of money. It's just a community, not a community, but like a bunch of people right now don't have all of the money in the world.
But it is one of our core values, and we are a charity, so that's important to us.
Yes.
That we're accessible to anyone. It's not a school, and it's certainly not a private school. So when we first were interviewed by CBC Radio about a year and a half ago, they lumped us in as one of 3 private schools opening in Ottawa. So it definitely, it's neither of those things.
We're just cool.
I want to change the subject a little bit. But I'm kind of curious, how do you find your time, your free time compares now to what it used to be in your old schooling
Oh, you
systems?
mean we didn't have free time?
Yeah, I
Well,
have free
although you
time
do
now.
have free time, but do you, like, what do you do on your days off, and do you find that it's, like, even when you had maybe summers off in your old schooling, you know, do you find a difference in terms of what you do in your free time?
I'm spending a lot more time at the barn with my horse, which is great. I'm reading a bit more. I didn't used to read, and now I'm reading, which is neat. I don't know, reading. I don't know. I'm a lot more relaxed in my free. I have free time now. I didn't really have any free time before, and yes, that's.
Do you like being productive in your free time as opposed to just wanting to hide from the world? Like, is it that kind of thing?
Yeah, I'm more productive now. That's for sure. I still don't have very much free time, but it's because I'm busy doing. I have all kinds of things going. So I don't know. If I do have free time, sometimes I'll just take a nap because I'm really busy right now. So which is great.
It's so busy that you want to be though.
Yeah. Like I'm doing all kinds of things. I'm making and pianoing, and that's not true, but pianoing.
Could be.
It is now.
Word.
We made
Just
it.
made up a word. I have all kinds of things that I'm learning and doing, so I don't have as much, I don't have too much free time, but I have more than I did before.
Depends on how you define free time.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
gonna say,
And then
so is, I guess what I'm taking away from that is like, there's not such a distinction between school time and free
No,
time, it's more like
Because
my
I'm
time.
always just doing things.
Yeah,
Happy time.
Yeah.
yeah, that's awesome.
Whereas I personally live like I live probably 45 minutes away from campus, and when I'm going in the morning, it takes an hour to drive because of traffic. So I do. My friends don't live near me, so often when I go home, I do things that I enjoy anyways. I just do a lot of drawing, and I also do research on getting a job on YouTube as a video gamer. There's a thing where you can like make videos of like video gaming and such, and other things like that. And I enjoy doing that, and that's something that would be really fun to do. So I look towards that and see how I can improve what I can do and get materials from doing that. I'm actually going to do a project right now of a bunch of Canadian teams singing True Colors into something it's moving. And so I'm currently looking and finding teams, obviously, who are interested in doing singing and editing and other things. So I'm also busy with that and trying to find out how to do that, where the space would be, and that kind of thing. So it is productive, and it's very similar to what I do at school, because I knew I wanted to. So.
Good for you guys, that's great.
Thank you.
Where are we at the time? I don't have my.
It's a
15,
Lego
we
block
have 10
clock.
minutes.
It's a cool clock. It's a Lego block clock.
Where's the
It's up there. It's blue.
It's a Lego block
Oh, I see.
Lego block clock. Press it up. It says Lego block clock, Lego block clock, Lego block clock. Oh, God.
Did any of you have any? If you like, we can end early. You can feel free to chat with us one-on-one. I should have introduced David La Calamita. He's currently doing a 5-week student internship with us. So you're welcome to chat with him too and get his impressions from being here for a few weeks already. Any other questions that might be good for the whole group to hear before we close?
I don't bite. Or was going to say something.
Okay, so maybe we'll get in there and then we'll just hang around if you want to approach us.
I want to thank you guys so much for coming. This is incredible. It was great learning more about the school and about how we can help. So we'll keep an eye out for the wish list. And if you send that to me, I can send it to everybody who registered today via Eventbrite. So that they
Okay,
get it.
I'll definitely update that.
And yeah, keep telling us about what you're doing.
Okay.
Yeah, and I hope to see you all next week. We're doing a session on influencing municipal decision making.
You guys
Great,
should
thank
have
you.
members. And you can come and hang
They
out
are
with
hub
them.
members.
They are, you are hub members. Oh, great. Well, hopefully we'll see you here.
There's no part way it's sad.
And there are materials on the table here as